Hello, I'm Genuine Nard, named after the oil poured out on Jesus' feet in the Bible. And this is my series on everything I've learned since my big chop on growing my natural hair. I will tell you this, you cannot grow your hair until you know your hair. I started my journey putting everything on it because someone else told me to do so, but I didn't know how my hair was going to be affected. If you are a low porosity sister, your hair regimen is going to be pretty different from someone who is a high porosity 4C. So learning your hair is so important. And that's what we're going to address in these two segments. We're going to talk about hair typing, and that's just how we identify what our texture is. And we're going to talk about hair porosity. Everybody talks about hair porosity. And until you understand what that means, it's just shh. So let's get into this segment first by talking about hair typing. Okay, this is a quick biology class about hair texture. Now, I'm sorry for going all science nerd, but we do need to know how our bodies work so that we can care for them. Plus, my mama taught biology for 30 years and she said that I needed to add it. I love you, mama. This is hair under a microscope. It's covered with dead skin cells and a little dirt and oil, but this is a healthy scalp. This is my artistic version of that. Now, there's a great debate on whether there are 3 or 4 types of hair. I lean towards 3 types, actually 2. It's either straight or it's not. But the degree of texture is categorized as straight, wavy, curly, and kinky. So, my nephew said my pictures were bad, and he drew these next few. Super straight hair grows out of the hair follicle like this. The shape of the hair is completely round. This tends to be people of Asian descent. Now, the other swing of the pendulum is kinky hair. The follicle is curved under the skin, and the shape of the opening is flatter. This causes a curl pattern. The texture of this hair is unique to people of African ancestry. The difference in the 2 textures is the slightest genetic variation. And in the middle, there are different variations of that. There's wavy hair, and then there's curly hair. The majority of people on this planet have some level of curl. This is why I think there are really only 3 types. Wavy hair is the great debate. Because of cross-cultural ancestry, this is not as strict a rule as it was even 45 years ago. Interestingly, hair texture is inherited or caused by environmental factors. Most people have more than one texture of hair on their head. And all of the hair in this picture is the same length. The tighter the curl, the shorter your hair will appear. Shrinkage. This last drawing is hair typing. 1 being straight, 2 is wavy, 3 is curly, 4 being kinky. And then the A, B, and C are variants of those curl patterns. Now this is my head of hair. I am a 4B, 4C from the base of my neck until about the crown of my head. And I have a few strands in the front that are 4A. You get to know your hair by touching it. So that last segment is really important for you to really get to know your hair. I had perms so long that I didn't even know what my natural texture was. And even after I transitioned, because I had been perming my hair, it was about a year until my hair started identifying its texture. I know that sounds strange, but it had to grow completely out. So now I thought my hair was 4C. It's actually 4B, and in the front it is 4A. And knowing that really just helps me know how to treat it a little bit better because I have a relationship with my hair that I'm building, right? And it's new because I never had it natural before. So start journaling. I really suggest this so strongly if you don't do anything else from this entire series. Writing down, journaling what you're putting on your hair, how your hair responds, how often you wash it, how your hair responds to that. It's really going to help you put together a regimen that is custom for you and your hair needs. Enough of that soapbox. We've talked about hair texture. Let's talk a little bit about hair porosity. Everyone talks about hair porosity, and they don't explain what that means. So this next segment breaks it way down.
Porosity focuses on the cuticle layer or outer layer of our hair. The cuticle, as seen in this microscopic picture, is super tough keratin and layers of flattened cells that overlap like scales. Now, when I look at a slice of the hair, like in this image, it reminds me of an ancient city wall. The wall was designed to keep invading armies out, but to let food and supplies in. The cuticle functions the same way with our hair. Hair porosity simply explains how tightly formed these scales are. Now, there's low porosity hair. That's a very tightly formed cuticle. Its characteristics are it gets wet slowly and it dries slowly. The strands feel very smooth to the touch. It's prone to product buildup. It can look greasy and it can be caused by genetics. The opposite of that is high porosity hair, which is a very loosely formed cuticle. Its characteristics are it wets quickly and dries quickly. The strands feel bumpy to the touch and it's prone to tangles and knots. It can look dry and it's usually caused by damage. Now, this is a very quick explanation, but your porosity is so important and it can change over time. The goal is to move it towards the middle. You want the cuticle to work just like that ancient city wall, keeping the bad stuff out and letting the good stuff inside. So if you're low porosity, you're always trying to open up that cuticle a little bit to allow oils and waters and conditioners in without causing damage. If you're high porosity, you're always trying to close the cuticle up and repair damage. Now, the big question is, how do you know what your porosity is?
And that's it. This is just explaining how you get to know your hair. So we've talked about your hair texture. It can be straight, wavy, curly, or kinky. And we've talked about your hair porosity, which is your hair's response to water. Does it repel it? Does it absorb it? And somewhere in the middle is normal. And so you want to try and keep moving your hair porosity towards that middle, and that's really going to be how you touch your hair on your wash days. I strongly again suggest that you start journaling so that you'll be able to say, every time I wash my hair, it takes a long time to get wet. I might be low porosity. So that means I'm going to have to change the products that I'm using. Until that happens, it's just hitting, the wind. It's blind strokes in the dark. You really want to be very deliberate in how you treat your hair. So I hope you try these techniques to identify your porosity and your curl texture, and I thank you for watching until the end.
Thank you again for watching. I would love to hear your success stories in the comments. You can click the red and subscribe to find all the videos in this series. Click here and check out these other cool videos, and click the bell to get weekly reminders when I post something new.